Ahead on Early Birds, the Falcons' destiny is back in their own hands.
A winning margin as big as they've seen in the last 4 years.
I'm happy.
Michael Penix makes start number 2 against Atlanta's old coach. Got Shock in the film room, and we'll go one-on-one with the man in the red sleeves.
Batted in the air and intercepted Matthew Judon.
Plus, the Dogs look to ring in the new year with a trip to the college football semifinals. We'll break down what'll go down in the Big Easy. Falcons trying to capitalize on a trip to the capital. Early Bird starts now.
Grab a cup of your favorite Joe and let's talk Falcons football on Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Good morning, welcome into Early Birds. He's DJ, I'm Justin, and Shock, it is simple. Win 2 more, Falcons in the playoffs.
Sounds easy, yes, sure enough. And they've got themselves to a point today where hey, it feels good that they got a chance to be there, so you're right. Win 2 and you're good.
The first of those 2 would be tomorrow night in Washington. We'll start things off with the opening drive. Commanders and Falcons, Sunday Night Football. Michael Penix making start number 2. Shock, what do you like in game 1? And what's the next step?
I think in game 1 they did a good job operationally of just getting guys out of the huddle, getting guys lined up, not having the procedural penalties that you would think would have with a first-time rookie quarterback in there. And then he delivered the football to the playmakers. Didn't have the turnovers. I know the quote-unquote one that went to Kyle Pitts is on him, but I thought he did a good job. I think going into week 2, you want to see a more progression. You want to see him continue to get better. See him do the things that made him successful last week and try to be consistent doing that from one week to the next.
Here's what the rookie quarterback said this week.
Just taking it one day at a time, one game at a time. Just make sure I'm locked in on everything I need to be focused on, and it's just, whatever I can do to help this team win football games, and each and every day just putting in that work so that when come game day, we can go out there and execute.
As we continue on the opening drive, we say hello again to Dan Quinn. The former Falcons coach has his Commanders in playoff position.
Yeah, he does, and I think DQ's one of those guys players love to play for him. He's absolute players coach and enjoys coaching those guys and has a different energy. He brought the brotherhood here. He's run the same thing there in Washington, and he continues to get these guys to play at a high level. You can see the position they're in right now at 10 wins, which is crazy. There's DQ. He's a big fan of Michael Penix Jr.
Through the draft process, he was actually here and had a visit with us during the spring as well. You found out this is a rare competitor. Going into the whole process, you knew this was a talented guy. He could deliver, he could process quickly. His way of playing is different than our way of playing, where, we moved Jaden a lot to do that, where Michael's more in the traditional way, strong arm, can rip it to anywhere. So those were the things, we saw in the draft process.
And as we wrap up the opening drive, both these teams will feature a rookie quarterback, but DJ, Washington's might be the front runner for Rookie of the Year right now.
I think he's got it in his hands right now. It's hard to kind of pull that away from the things he's done this year, taking care of the football, making plays. I think he's got 3 or 4 comeback from behind victories in the fourth quarter, what he did last week versus Philadelphia. He has shown the ability to really put this team on his back as a rookie and get him in position. This is a team last year that won 4 games, and now they've won 10 games. Jaden Daniels has absolutely been the difference maker for that Commanders team.
Daniels making a difference indeed. Welcome into Early Birds alongside DJ Shockley. I'm Justin Felder, and Washington's got some veterans on defense. DQ, he coached Bobby Wagner back in Seattle, and Wagner's having a great season.
He is, and some guys just fit what you like to do on that side of the ball and understands what a coach wants from you, and he's a defensive guy. Wagner's that kind of player, and he's fit right well with the Commanders.
Well, Shock, I may just be a Bill here on Capitol Hill, but I'm excited to become a football expert watching your film room.
Oh, I like that.
Schoolhouse Rock?
Got the
Throw back to elementary school. All right, I'll see you in the film room in just a few. But first, last Sunday, the Falcons had a pair of pick sixes. First time they've had 2 of those in a game since 1983. One of the defensive touchdowns belonged to Matthew Judon, part of a recently ramped up pass rush. The man in the red sleeves sat down with our Georgia Chambers this week.
Got it in the air and intercepted Matthew Judon.
So take us back to the pick 6. Walk us through the play itself and then the emotions going through your head once you realize you're about to score.
It was just an easy 4-man rush, and then Zach had a quick winner on the outside and got that big old paw up there, slapped the ball, and it just landed straight in my hands. And then all I seen was the end zone. So I took off.
So the guys running with you, you look back, they're all running, you get in the end zone. Celebration. Was that an in the moment thing?
It was an in the moment thing.
So you just felt it, that came to you.
That's my first touchdown, so I didn't know, like, once you cross the end zone with the ball, you instantly black out. If you ain't like prepared to do it a lot of times, So they say act like you've been there. I ain't never been there. So
moving out, so the pass rush recently has improved. 26 on the season. You had one on Sunday. What do you feel like has been the biggest difference from the beginning of the season to now?
I honestly think we're just getting him down with the ball in his hands. We was getting a lot of pressures, a lot of this, a lot of that. We just wasn't getting the sacks. We just wasn't getting the finishes. And then that's what a lot of people focus on. They don't care about the pressures. They don't care about the hits, the hurries, none of that. They're like, are you getting them down?
Matthew Judon.
Old coach of mine used to say, nobody really care about the close with no cigars. So nobody was really paying attention to that. But then once you start getting sacks, once you start pressuring the quarterback, now it's like, oh, y'all done did something then turned around. It's like, nah, we didn't just had a couple quarterbacks that's just not been dirting it or, getting rid of it fast.
Big game coming up Sunday Night Football. They're also coming off a big win over the Eagles. Jaden Daniels, key part of that comeback win. So what do you feel like would be some keys to disrupting him on Sunday?
Just getting to him, just continue to affect him. But I think, that staff and those guys over there, they do a good job of run-pass balance. They got some good backs as well, key backs, and then they got some key guys outside, and that offensive line is holding up. But when you get a special talent like Jaden, it's easier said than done.
It's time to get some game intel from Shock. You're invited into the film room. So cut the lights and let's get started.
We always talk about taking the next step, and for Michael Penix Jr., he can do that in this ball game. But he did some really good stuff in the first ball game, getting his first start. And let's go through one of these particular plays here. Now, this is the first third down of the ball game. You see it's 14-15 in the game. First third down. Bijan's going to do a good job of picking up the blitz with these A-gap blitzes. But what he wants to do is he wants to work this particular concept down here at the bottom. You're going to see his eyes go to the left, but then he has time to look back and work this big dig cut on the backside from Drake. Now, he does a good job of taking his eyes from one progression to another and allow him to be able to create this pass lane here. So let's watch how this play plays out here. Watch Bijan throws it, picks up the block here, but look at his eyes. His eyes are looking down here to the left. He's going through his progression. Most rookie quarterbacks, it's hard to go from 1 to 2 to 3, especially with a rush in your face, but Michael Penix Jr. does such a good job of finding avenues where to throw this football. This is not there initially. So watch his eyes go back to the middle, boom. Snap his head back. Look at his head. His head was looking this way. Now he snaps it back to get it back to his third read, which is Drake London coming across and delivers a nice, accurate football. Now I'm going to show it to you from another angle of him being the elite processor that Coach Raheem Morris wants from his quarterback position. Now remember, I talked about his head. Look at his head. His head and eyes say, let's throw the football here. I'm thinking about here, but now Bijan does a good job of picking this guy up. Now his eyes are going to turn and come back this way and find the throw he wants to make here. Snatch the head around. Now look at that. That's an outstanding job of coming back to his third read and finding here. And then once he lets the football go, watch this. Look where the football is. The football is halfway there here, but look where the ball is. The ball is coming at this particular angle. He's throwing it where he's going, not where he's at. A really great job of processing, but getting through it. And ultimately, it becomes a big, big third down play. Michael Penix Jr. continues to be this kind of guy. And with more time on task, Justin, he's going to keep doing things like this, and we hope he does that versus Washington.
Looking forward to see what's in store tomorrow night. Thanks, Shock. We got more to come on Early Birds. College football quarterfinals days away. We'll break down the matchups. Michael Jenkins will tell you what the Dogs need to do to move on. Plus,
maybe just the misconception of the fact that maybe a nickel is just another cover guy or your third best corner.
a good nickel means high value for a defense, as does a player who can go inside or outside. Clark Phillips explains when we go deep.
You're watching Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Best, nothing. And sponsored by the Georgia Lottery. Today could be the day. And the Home Depot. How doers get more done. More Early Birds coming back at you. Early Birds. It's not Saturday down south without talking college football. Brought to you by Zaxby's. Famous fingers and sauces. Here's Shock.
It was Jackets indoors yesterday in the Birmingham Bowl. Quiet first quarter until Vandy quarterback Diego Pavia delivers with a TD pass to take a 7-0 lead. Then a 15-play drive for the Jackets quarterback Haynes King ends with a Rylan Golding TD, all tied at 7. But then Vandy up by 1. Pavia again, his second TD of the game to put them up by 8 late in the third. Next series though, Haynes King throws only his second INT of the season. Pavia will end the day accounting for 5 TDs as Vandy goes on to beat Tech 35-27. Great stuff there from the Birmingham Bowl with the Jackets indoors. My man Michael Jake is in the crib with us. Jake,
what's going on?
Feeling good, bro?
Good.
Hey,
great.
Man, it's the best of the best right now. We're talking about college football.
Cream of the crop.
Yeah, these quarterfinals. Before we talk about those games, let's talk about what happened last week, though. We saw a bunch of blowouts with the home team. Do you think that helps or hurts the committee when you're looking at this whole 12-team scenario?
I still think it's a good thing for college football. 12 teams with a chance to win a national championship, and so the first year, it's going to be some adjustments. They're going to, they're going to get things right.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get better games next year.
I agree. All right, let's talk about the big game on New Year's Day, the Sugar Bowl between the Dogs and the Irish going down Wednesday night. No Carson Beck, all Gunnar Stockton for the Dogs, but for the Irish, it's all about their run game. Riley Leonard, the quarterback, is their second leading rusher. He's been good. What do they need to do to kind of, what people say, maybe get an upset in this game?
I mean, they got to run the ball, dominate time of possession. Like you said, Riley Leonard, Jeremiah Love, the running back for Notre Dame, these two guys can run the football. And uncharacteristically, Georgia hasn't been as great at stopping the run this year. So, Notre Dame's going to try to lean on that to get this win.
What's your confidence level with old Gunnar Stockton?
It's actually really high. I like the way he came in, pressure situation, second half of that SEC championship game, and won that game for Georgia. So now he had time to prepare, and I think he's going to be in a good spot.
That dude right there worries me right there. Right. My goodness. All right, here are both head coaches on their preparation for each other.
We're excited, very honored to be playing a really, really talented Notre Dame team. I have so much respect for Coach Freeman, his staff, everything they've been able to accomplish this year.
We all know the challenge that lies ahead, so preparation will be as critical as it is every week as you prepare for an opponent.
All right, Jake, I think the game that everybody will be excited about is round 2. Your Ohio State Buckeyes taking on Oregon in the Rose Bowl, which will be a great atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Your Buckeyes smacked Tennessee last week. We talked about that. Had a pretty good showing. But when you look at this ball game, the first one was really close. Now you got another chance to play them. How do you get a win this time and slow down that Oregon offense?
Well, first time we played, there's a real famous Outkast song, B.O.B.
Yeah.
And that's what Oregon did to us last time. So we have to eliminate big plays. We have to effectively run the football. And then we have to get to Dylan Gabriel. We got no sacks, no pressures on him last game. So Jack Sawyer and that front 4, that front 7 have to affect Dylan Gabriel in that passing attack.
Who's the one guy for Ohio State that has to play big?
It has to be that, like I just mentioned, Jack Sawyer and that front 4.
Okay.
Those guys have to get to Dylan Gabriel and slow that Oregon offense down.
All right, gonna be a good one. All right, let's talk about the next one in the New Year's Eve. On New Year's Eve, the Verbal Fiesta Bowl. Penn State versus Boise. Nittany Lions smacked SMU 38-10 in their first game.
Man.
But the question here is, can the Nittany Lions slow down Heisman runner-up, that man right there, Ashton Jeanty? Jake, can they do it first off, and can he be enough for Boise?
I don't think anybody can stop this guy. I mean, he had 6 games of over 200 yards rushing.
That's unbelievable.
That included 200 against Oregon. So, I think he feels a little slighted. He didn't win the Heisman with the stats that he put up.
They were crazy.
So, I mean, this team, they got a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to be out to prove it.
29 touchdowns, 2,400 yards, average 7.2 your carry. That's an unbelievable stat. And Jake, I think the other part that's going to be a big part of this game is their quarterback, Maddox Matson. 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's going to be a big part of that as well, leading that Boise offense. So should be a bunch of great games coming up on New Year's Eve. Jake, we always appreciate the insight from you. Good luck to our Buckeyes, your Buckeyes, my Dogs for sure. And Justin, is there a game that intrigues you when it's comes down to these quarterfinals?
I mean, Ohio State, Oregon. That's the game that everybody's got to watch. Got a good one here in Atlanta, though, in the Peach Bowl. We got Texas, Arizona State. Hines Ward, an assistant with Arizona State. That'll be a fun one as well. Great stuff, guys. Well, defensive back seems like one of the least forgiving positions in football. Pass interference, you might end up in somebody else's highlight tape. It takes a special player to man that role, especially one who can play outside or inside at nickel, like Clark Phillips. He explains in this week's Going Deep.
Right.
I think it depends on the scheme, the situation, but I'd say overall, I think there's obviously differences in the run game, the run fits, because at nickel, obviously, you're asked to be in the run fit way more often versus that corner. You're kind of out there on that island more times than not. I love them both, and I think having the ability to play both and being able to understand nickel and corner only helps you as a football player. Physicality at nickel is really, really important as it is at corner, but I'd say even more so just because you're constantly in the run fit more times than not, and you're shedding blocks and you're in there with bigger bodies, right? the ability to play press, play off, and all those things. That's, I'd say, is very important at outside corner because you're asked to do both way more often.
Is there anything that you just wish people were knew about, I guess, those two things?
Maybe just the misconception of the fact that maybe a nickel is just another cover guy or your third best corner. I don't think that's the case in most situations at all. I think the nickel is a guy that can do both, and a guy that's forced in a lot of different situations, and a lot of the times that's the guy that needs to know the entire defense. He needs to know a lot of different things because he's communicating with your linebacker, with your safety, with your corner, and so it's a lot of stuff that goes into playing nickel.
Well, a good pass rush would make Clark's life easier wherever he plays. Falcons getting pressure from an unexpected source. Shock explains next.
Going Deep is brought to you by Zaxby's. Famous fingers and sauces. We're getting your Saturday started right. Early Birds is back in a moment.
Locke looking to throw immediately. Up in the pocket, and Caden Ellis is going to ball out. And let's see, Atlanta says they have it. Caden Ellis, and they do.
Well, since signing with the Falcons, Caden Ellis has been everything they have wanted and more from the linebacker position. Now, the proof is in the numbers. He has 4 straight games with a sack, which is the longest active streak in the NFL. And, oh, yeah, he has led the team in tackles for the 4th consecutive game. Justin, Caden is literally the glue for this defense.
Yeah, might be a busy day for the linebacking crew if the forecast holds for tomorrow night. D.C. looks like it might be a little wet. Not as cold as you'd think in the Northeast, but might see some rain as Sunday Night Football goes on. That affects the team's game plan and the medical staff's thinking as well. That's the focus of this week's Emory Road to Recovery.
Preparing for games from a medical staff standpoint, I guess you can look at it one of two ways. Really cold weather games, we are prepared to bundle up as a medical staff. But as it applies to the players, the turf may be different, right? Because the turf may be colder, may be harder. There may be more impacts on the ground with the athletes, and so we got to be more aware to be watching out for those types of things where the head hitting the ground may be a little bit more forceful due to the surface being colder and more frozen. Opposite, with warm weather games, right, we're more aware of heat illness and we're more aware of hydration techniques and utilizing IVs or electrolytes and these types of things as we monitor players and their hydration, looking for heat illnesses. And so I think really we go both ways, but we are readily aware whenever we're traveling anywhere what the weather may be, what the turf may be, and certainly looking out for those things.
Well, one Falcons player took to the ice to help local folks in need. We'll show you all about that coming up after the break.
You're watching Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz, on your official home for Falcons football, Fox 5 Atlanta. Early Birds has been presented to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Just kind of immersing myself in the community, and then it's kind of getting cold. I didn't even know it got this cold out here, honestly. And so, just giving to the less fortunate, and that's kind of something that I always try to do.
Yeah, this was an event called Skate for the Cause, hosted by Matthew Judon, held it recently at Ponce City Market on the rooftop ice skating rink. And Shock, Judon said he didn't skate since he was 15. Looks pretty good out there, and it was all supporting the Atlanta mission, which is a great cause.
I tell you, much better than me. I'd be over there on those rails, no chance. I tried ice skating, so give it up to Judon for me to do that. But also, the more important part, giving back to people, like you said, less fortunate, to see him out there immersing himself in the community. And if he didn't know it was this cold, I could have just told you, Matt, just ask me, bro. I've been here my whole life. It's cold.
You heard earlier in the show about the end zone celebration on the touchdown. He has some moves on the ice as well. Judon also covered the skate fees for community attendees and collected coat donations for the Atlanta mission. Final thoughts here as we get ready for Falcons Commanders tomorrow night. I'll tell you one guy I'm going to be watching. It's the Christmas season, not Halloween, but Terry McLaurin has a more spooky nickname, right?
Scary Terry, no doubt about it. I was thinking the same thing when you just said that. Scary Terry is a guy who can absolutely change the game for the Washington Commanders. You can't allow him to get out and get free, especially when Jayden gets out and try to run and make some plays.
Absolutely. It'll be an exciting game. Falcons, if they win out, they would be back in the playoffs for the first time in a very long time. That would be a great way to start the new year. Shock, we'll see you in 2025. That's it from us here on Early Birds. For DJ Shockley, I'm Justin Felder. Thank you for joining us. Have a good morning and a great rest of your weekend.